ورسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول كل بدعة ضلالة.
An encouragement for the sisters to accept polygyny. You're asking for شيء عظيم يا أخي شيء عظيم. No, first and foremost, our sisters accept polygyny because they're believers. Our sisters accept polygyny because they are believers. And it is a matter of iman to be pleased with what pleases Allah and to be displeased with that which displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whatever Allah has legislated and made good, it is good. And our sisters are, alhamdulillah, believers, bi'idhnillahi tabarak wa ta'ala, and therefore, they hold plural marriage to be good. And they accept it. Now, recently I translated a work, or we published a work more recently, by Al-Allama Ahmed Shakir from Egypt. And it is a tremendous word in defense of polygyny, of plural marriage. And it is the kind of thing, Ikhwan, that I want to remind you to make sure you read it either in Arabic, or if you get the translation, read it in English. Read it, though. Because the Sheikh deals with some things that I think that many of us are not familiar with. So, jealousy is normal. The ulama have mentioned, Sheikh Uthaymeen and others have said, for a woman to be jealous for her husband and marry another woman, I mean, that's normal, it's tabi'i. You can understand that. The wives of the Messenger of Allah, the best of women, they have jealousy for one another as it relates to the affair of, marriage, plural marriage, and like this. So the jealousy is one thing. Sheikh Ahmed Shakir is talking about something else that has happened. He mentioned that we have been affected, the Ummah, he's talking about the Muslims in general here now. He said, and he opens up the book by saying, there has emerged among the people those who have been affected by a European mentality. And because of this, it has caused them to have a distaste, a dislike for plural marriage. That's different from a woman just being jealous of her husband taking another wife. We're talking about now someone who has a problem with the institution itself. Now, what happens is, Ikhwan, and this is how people kind of normally hide behind it. A woman will say, I don't have no problem with polygamy, I just can't deal with it. But then when you hear her talk about polygyny, she only mentions the negative aspects that she's heard about it. If a person didn't have a problem with it, and really you shouldn't just not have a problem with it, that's really not enough to just not have a problem with it. You should love it. Because Allah is pleased with it, and Allah loves it. There's hikmah, there's wisdom in plural marriage. You should love it. You shouldn't just say, I don't have a problem with it. You should actually love it because Allah loves it. And so in that regard, they say, well, I don't have a problem. I just can't deal with it. Well, okay, if you just can't deal with it personally within yourself, then why aren't you out here saying that plural marriage is good? Plural marriage is noble. Plural marriage is a remedy for so many social ills. Plural marriage will aid in so many women who can't find husbands. Plural marriage will aid in protecting people from falling into illicit sexual activity. Why don't you say that and encourage your sisters, even though you can't do it personally? We don't find a lot of our sisters doing that. Because as the Sheikh mentioned, some of them, Ikhwan, have been affected by this indoctrination that has come to us, Ikhwan, that has caused us to kind of look down on plural marriage. Now, as Sheikh Al-Albani and other ulama have mentioned, plural marriage, as we see from some of the evidences, seems to be the asl, the foundation of marriage. Allah says, well, in the verse, فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَا وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. Marry women of your choice, 2, 3, or 4. Some of the ulama say Allah started with 2. He started with 2. And Ahmed Shakir in the book, Ikhwan, he says, actually Allah uses the imperative, فَانْكِحُوا. He uses the command form of the verb. He says, so it would have been obligatory, but he says, مَا طَابَ لَكُم. So when he says, what of your choice, that reduces the obligation there. But he's just showing the strength of the language that is used in the verse, in the Quran. It's a strong imperative. So marry the women of your choice, 2, 3, or 4. So that means he starts with 2, 3, or 4. There's another narration, Ikhwan. Allah al-companion, Ghilan, when he accepted Islam, he had 10 wives. He accepts Islam, and his wives accept Islam along with him, all 10 of them. The Messenger of Allah said, divorce 6 and keep 4. The ulama said, if one was better, as we hear some of the old translations, one is better if you only knew, right? If one was the origin, or if one was preferable, then he would have said divorce 9 and keep 1. But he told him divorce 6 and keep 4. Some ulama say based on the very action of the Messenger of Allah that shows the preference of keeping 4 in that instance. Also, it was the practice of the noble companions, the men that we honor. Abu Bakr had multiple wives. Come on. Uthman, multiple wives. Umar, multiple wives. Ali, yes, Ali. And we deal with that shubahat that the people try to throw out there about Ali with not marrying the daughter of Abu Jahl. In the narration, Shaykh deals with that issue as well in the text. And so the people that we honor, the best of the people that we honor, married multiple women. Rather, Ibn Abbas says, as found in the Sahih of al-Bukhari, fi kitab al-nikah, خير هذه الأمة أكثرها النساء. The best men of this ummah are those with the most wives. Ibn Abbas, I ain't say it, Ibn Abbas said it. That the best of this ummah are the men with the most wives. And to the point where Ibn Hajar, Ikhwan, in the explanation of that narration in Kitab al-Nikah, and I remember years back, Ikhwan, Allah al-Musta'an, just to show you how sick some of the people are. It says, the best of this ummah are those with the most women. A brother said, and this is a brother, Ikhwan, this wasn't even a sister. SubhanAllah. He said, no, what's intended there is, who has the most women under his care, like meaning daughters and... It's in Kitab al-Nikah, ya akhi. And if you know the reason why Ibn Abbas said it, one of his students came to him and Ibn Abbas said, Hal tazawwajt? Have you married? And the student said, no. He said, tazawwaj. And then he mentioned the narration. So he ain't talking about daughters and sisters and all, talking about wives. So the best of this ummah are those with the most wives. So this is from the Quran. This is from the Sunnah. This is from the very practical application of the noble companions. And so as the point I was going to mention, Ibn Hajar, he says in the explanation of those narrations that the Arab of the past, they saw a man with multiple wives as manly. Because ta'addud, they said, is a mark of manhood. Now, someone might ask me, well, what about a man who can't take care of his first wife? Well, then the ayah clearly says, can't deal justly between women and only one. But I think there's a bigger problem in that situation than ta'addud. Why is ta'addud the scapegoat? What about the fact he ain't taking care of his wife to begin with? Let's get a little bit more detail on that. Let us be a little bit more concerned about that. And here's my question. All of a sudden now you got a problem, sister, that he can't take care of you because he wants to take another wife. That should have been an issue before that. Or if all of a sudden now the man don't take you out to dinner as much as he should. Well, you should have been talking about that when it was just you and him. Now, because he wants to take a second wife, now it becomes a problem. So I say to my sisters, voice your concerns, even if it's in monogamy. Voice your concerns. Also, the ulama have mentioned from them, Shaykh Ibn Baz, rahimahullah ta'ala, as for the person who says that monogamy is better, or that which they do in the land of the disbelievers is better from a man only having one wife. If a person says that and believes that to be the case, they have disbelieved. They have left Islam. And if a person dislikes plural marriage, and that's why I started by saying our sisters accept plural marriage. They accept it because they understand to not accept plural marriage means they disbelieve. That's what it means, to not accept. And by not accept, we mean to reject plural marriage, the institution of plural marriage. Now, what do we do about a sister, and this is covered in one of the appendices in the book by Sheikh al-Uthaymin. What do we do about the woman who refuses to be in polygamy, threatens to divorce her husband, and all that kind of good stuff? Sheikh al-Uthaymin, he gave some tremendous advice. He said, first and foremost, he said to the man, he said, don't answer her. Get married. Don't deny yourself. You get married. If it's permissible for you to get married, meaning you can afford to take care of the woman, you can provide for her, don't deny yourself. And if she tells you or asks you to divorce the other wife, don't do it. And if she asks you for a divorce, don't give it to her. And then he mentioned the narration that if a woman asks for a divorce without just cause, she will not smell the fragrance of paradise. So is polygamy a just cause for divorce? Allah said it is permissible. He has made it permissible in the book of Allah. He has made it permissible in the Sunnah. It is the practice of the noble companions. It is the practice of the tabi'een and the likes of them, ikhwan. Allah yabarik fikum. So therefore we say to our sisters to go back and read and to learn the Quran and to learn the Sunnah and to learn the practice of the noble companions. And look how the noble companions, even with their jealousy, look how they dealt with it. Even with the jealousy, which we said is a natural thing. We haven't denied that. We haven't denied the person. Listen, we've said over the years that in the issue of Havana, in the issue of custody rights, we know in the narration that when a woman came to the Messenger of Allah regarding her child, and she said, this is my child, his father has divorced me, and now he wants to take him from me, but he fetches water for me, and he takes care of me. The ulama say she's mentioning all of this because she's trying to fight for all she can to keep her child. She's mentioning everything she can mention of why she needs to have her child with her. So that's natural. That's a natural thing that a mother would do for her child. We understand that. And likewise, we understand that natural thing in a woman that she, if he's going to be jealous and she might buck a little bit. But the reality of the affair is what? That she has to understand that ultimately, even with that jealousy, she has to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the child of the Prophet ﷺ died, Ibrahim, he said what? He said, the eyes shed tears, the heart feels sorrow, but we do not say except that which pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You got to check your emotions. You got to get your emotions in check. The Messenger of Allah said what? La taghdab. He didn't mean you're not going to feel the emotion of anger. He meant do not allow anger to cause you to do that which is displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So sister, yeah, you're going to be a little jealous, but do not allow that to cause you to do that which is displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or reject that which Allah has made permissible. And finally, ikhwan, I'll say that I heard some years ago, and I find this stuff amazing, where a man was saying to the brothers, yeah, you're getting married, you're going to take a second wife, and your wife is going to leave you. Brother, you need to think hard and long about losing your family, losing your wife to take a second wife. And I said, why don't we flip that around? Why don't we say to the sisters, sister, are you really willing to lose your family? Are you really willing to lose the bond with your children, with their father, to lose all of that in the household because he's doing something permissible for him? Flip it around. Because the asl of the affair is plural marriage. And it is good. And it is noble. And of course, ikhwan, it has to be practiced properly. There's no question about that. But that's anything in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ikhwan. I don't care what it is. You got to practice it properly. That should go without saying. So no one should try to use as an excuse that so-and-so didn't practice it properly, and Fulan didn't practice it properly, therefore we got to leave it alone. Because if that was the case, how many people don't fast properly? You're going to leave fasting alone? Do it properly. Do it right. Learn the proper etiquettes. Do it in the proper fashion as you have been commanded to do it. Allah barifikum. And likewise, how many bad marriages have we seen in monogamy? Ain't nobody becoming celibate. So stop using these excuses. They're excuses. And they are weak as a spider's web. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to aid us in this affair and to give us victory over ourselves and to make us from those who are pleased with that which pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa jazakum Allahu khairan ya ikhwan. He has to have enough money. A brother just asked me about providing for the wives. Yes, there's no question that a man, as we mentioned in the verse, he has to be able to provide for his wives. But in the text, Sheikh Ahmed Shakir says one of the arguments that the disbelievers tried to use to abolish plural marriage in the Muslim lands is they tried to say it was only permissible to be practiced by the rich. And Sheikh Ahmed Shakir said it is an atrocity to restrict plural marriage to only the rich. So therefore, if a man can provide for his wives in a good fashion, even if it's in the middle class or lower middle class way, whatever, giving them their needs, then it is permissible for him to take on